All right, we got to dive deep into this thing. It's 6:04. Joining me now is Joshua Blank, Research Director at the Texas Politics Project with UT Austin. Joshua, first of all, thank you for getting up this early and joining us. Secondly,
Thanks for having me.
let's put this in layman's terms, Josh, for a lot of people who really don't understand the complexities. What does this mean?
Well, ultimately, what it means is that, the front runner for the Republican nomination for president is in increasingly deep legal trouble. The news yesterday about the federal indictment, is a big deal in terms of American history, because we're talking about federal charges brought against not only a former president but a front runner for the next presidential election. But it also adds to mounting legal problems, including an indictment in New York State and the potential for an indictment in Georgia over efforts by the former president to overturn the 2020 election results there.
Joshua, we know the indictment in New York State, that took a while. Man, that thing played out and it kept going and going and going and going. How long do you expect this process to play out?
I think people should expect this process to play out for a long time. I mean, ultimately, the political cycle, sort of the timeline we think of in terms of news and events sort of, becoming big and then moving along, can be a day, it can be a few days or a few weeks. The legal process takes a very long time, and we should all be thankful for that. Ultimately, to the extent that this is, a complicated situation, it's partially complicated because people have already made their judgments in most cases. In most cases, most Democrats, were celebrating yesterday. Many Republicans were taking, to social media and other places to lament the politicization of the Justice Department. The legal system is meant to ignore all of that and look solely at the facts, and that process takes time.
All right, I'm going to ask you a twofold question before we let you run. What does this mean for the presidential race as it concerns the GOP side of things? All the candidates that are already thrown their hats in the ring, you think they're feeling good about their chances even better? And also, Josh, explain to people, because they want to understand, how can former President Donald Trump continue to run for president when he's now been indicted on state charges in New York and now on federal charges in this instance?
Well, first and foremost, I'll answer the second question first. The important point to remember here is in America, you're innocent until proven guilty. An indictment is not proof of guilt. The former president has not been convicted of any crimes at this point, and ultimately he is playing out the legal process that will determine that. But as of right now, he has not been convicted of committing any crime. So that's the second question. As to the first question, certainly the other nominees for the 2024 Republican nomination are to some extent pleased by this development, because nobody wants to be indicted and nobody wants to be running for an office of public trust under indictment. Having said that, the conventional wisdom thus far has been that these efforts to make Donald Trump pay some kind of legal consequences for some of his actions have tended to help him so far in the GOP primary. A number of candidates announced their candidacy this week. All of that is being drowned out right now by Donald Trump and by Donald Trump's legal problems. Now, you could say that's bad. However, especially early on in a Republican primary, those voters have been primed to believe that the legal system is somehow turned against the former president, and this will actually add to that evidence. Whether that's helpful going forward into a general election, should he become the nominee, is another story if these mounting legal problems continue, and especially if one of these indictments turns into a conviction.
Joshua Blank, Research Director at the Texas Politics Project with UT Austin, thank you so much. I believe you put that in layman's terms, and a lot of people who didn't really understand what was going on, I think they have a better understanding now. Joshua, thank you once again.